Welcome to the February 2nd, 2022 meeting of the Berlin Conservation Commission in accordance with Governor Baker's March 2020 order superseding certain provisions of the open meeting law. Due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus, this meeting will be held remotely via the Zoom platform. All participants should be aware that anything you say, share, or show on camera during this meeting will be recorded and uploaded to the Town of Berlin YouTube channel. This virtual location was listed on the agenda along with all necessary links for public attendance. Audience members who wish to participate should use Zoom's raise hand function, and you will be called on by the chair when appropriate. Please remember to mute your microphone when not speaking and speak clearly to ensure accurate minutes are recorded. Each vote taken during this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. I will now confirm that all members of the Conservation Commission are present and can hear me before opening the meeting. Louise, got to unmute, hon.
I'm here.
Okay, Holly.
Here.
Kyle.
Here.
Robin.
Here.
AJ.
Here.
And Mr. Bickford.
Here.
All right. I now call the meeting to order at 7:03. To get the agenda up as well. Okay, everybody, I assume got the minutes. Any comments? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve the minutes from the January, whatever that was.
19th.
Thank you. January 19th meeting.
I motion to accept the meeting minutes for the January 19th meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. I'll ask you to vote. I'll start with Holly.
Aye.
Kyle.
Aye.
Walter.
Aye.
Robin.
Aye.
AJ.
Aye.
And Louise.
Aye.
Carolyn, aye. Motion passes. Next would be a treasurer's report, but am I correct, Robin, in that we do not have one?
Correct. There's no change from last month.
Right. All right. And Maddie, did you see any mail?
I didn't really see anything in the mailbox.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah.
Except actually your W-2. Did you get that?
Yep, I did get that.
Okay. So no mail. Moving right down the agenda. No bills and forms to fill out. I don't have any news on any of our ongoing projects or things that we're keeping an eye on. Nothing about Maplewood. Nothing about Highland Ridge, nothing about Dudley Road, nothing about the parking lot on Linden Street, and nothing about the signs on Mount Pisgah. So we've got 25 minutes to fill. The only other thing that I really wanted to talk about tonight was, and really none of this is super new, a little bit of it, just the funding for the McGrail farm property, aka the Laura property.
When did we get that name? Is that a new name?
Yep, that's what it's going to be referred to officially.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Where'd that come from?
What are they excuse me, what are they referring it to?
We're going to call it the McGrail farm.
Oh, good.
Who's we?
Well, why?
Well, I mean, there's some names on it. The owners, you know, they got rid of it, and there's history there and stuff. It was the most famous aspect of it. It was a lineman school, and it was always called the lineman school. And before they destroyed that beautiful house, I mean, you could go down the cellar, and there were pegs along in a board with the boys' names under the pegs where they hung their clothes and stuff, yo. And when I was a kid, there was an old fella born in 1902. He can remember that when it was in operation. It closed down as a lineman school sometime in the early 1920s. But he can remember the boys up there and the gardening, and then there was a Boy Scout camp. But I mean, the lineman school property gets out. I mean, just based on what I know, that nobody deserving have their name on. That's a stupendous place, and to have your name put on that is a heck of an honor. And frankly, I would not put an individual name on it. I would call it the Lyman School property. And if somebody asks why, then now you know what to tell them. But that's my take on it anyway.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it'll eventually be just part of Malpisca anyway.
But where'd the name come from?
McGrail owned it for quite a while there. He was he a lawyer? I
He's a
forget what-
lawyer.
Yeah,
And
lawyer.
he
He
was,
owned that property.
He was also Secretary of Education for a while in Massachusetts.
Yeah, he lived in Clinton, actually.
No, well, his residence was Clinton, but he lived in the house in Berlin.
Yeah. Okay, it's not a big deal. I just wanted to,
Yep.
you know, a little sensitive to the real history of it, and a lot of people involved. I'll tell you, Mr. McGrail, along with Mr. Devine, were the two people that killed the Mount Pisgah Park, where DCR was going to come in and buy virtually everything between Linden, Lyman.
From Ball Hill Road to Lyman Road.
It was beyond Ball Hill, even over to Mile Hill Road. They were going to convert that entire area and save it. And Mr. McGrail and Mr. Devine really using their contacts, and McGrail had some obviously in Boston, and they killed it. So now we're scrubbing and sending money and trying to save it, and we're providing greenways for a lot of new houses being built around the area. So anyway, my take is the Lyman School, but whatever you want.
Okay. Okay, so anyway, so at the CPA meeting last week, I had put in a request for, or an application for 350,000 towards this. And there were several other applications that were put in, one of which is by, now Walter, keep your cool. This is by the Historical Commission, and they have an opportunity for a matching grant. So the only two projects currently that are being looked at for recommendation are ours and Historical, because they both involve grants and timeframes. There might be other places that the money for the Historical project can come from. So by the time we have to have a final warrant, that number may change, but that is currently where we stand with that.
How much is theirs for? Their request?
Their request, I believe they need another 50,000.
Is that for
because
the
they,
boathouse?
they need a total of 100,000. And they have 50,000 in their portion, and they need another 50,000 out of the general pool.
What do they
And
do?
yeah,
at the Boathouse?
yeah,
Yeah.
yep. So, but if they get the grant, then they'll have 200,000. So it's a full match. So that's where that stands, and I'm trying to figure out, Maddie, I don't know, did you see that email that I sent today to Krista? Just kind of outlining where I feel like we are with all of the money and
Yep, I did do that.
and what we need to still come up with.
I don't recall seeing it. Did you send it to all of us?
I didn't yet because I had
Oh,
some
okay.
questions for Krista that I wanted answered.
Sorry, I thought you said
Um,
you sent it out. Yeah.
No,
Okay.
but I will, once we're,
Mhm.
once we get closer. And so I've been working on that. What else, Maddie, what else is going on? I know it's kind of quiet.
Yeah, it's been very quiet. We have submitted all the forms that we needed to, the order of conditions for River Road. What else? Yep. Yeah, pretty much all that gets submitted. So thank you guys for getting down there and signing off on that weird form. The electronic one does kind of come out weird, but it works.
Yep. And I mean, there definitely was some back and forth with the lawyer, well, a little bit of back and forth with the lawyer about Highland Ridge, but we should wait to talk about that at the appointed time.
How much time we've got before then?
15 minutes.
I got something I just wanted to bring up.
Okay.
I'm starting to gather information on this and talk with a few people. I talked to Whitney Beals a little earlier tonight we have all this land, and I'm just looking into a forest stewardship plan. What kind of planning we might be able to do that would open up grants to us, for example. And I know Krista knows about this too. So at this point, I'm just looking and looking into it. And in fact, the name just came up on my inbox here of Gary Gouldrop, the forester who marked the forest off of Coben Road there a few years back. He's done some stewardship planning for Groton and other towns, but just to report back, do we need it? What benefit would be? How much time? I could put time in it, but not, we're going to end up, if we do this, we'll be retaining a forester or somebody to do it. But I'll have all the figures. I'm just getting information now. That's all.
Do you have any specific parcels that you
Well,
have
I
in
think
mind?
we've got to look at it all. It's for one thing, they're all pretty mature, and the mast is really dense. A closed mast. There's not much new stuff coming up underneath it. I've been in the woods up in a couple of places, and I tell you, you could see 400 or 500 yards through the woods. There's just no understory coming up. But I think the Mount Pisgah area we need to look at. As I walk from Ball Hill headed over toward Lyman Street, boy, there's just junk wood in there. The pines are just trash. There's not a log in them, naughty and crooked. And we also would want to look into getting rid of some invasive species that are really beginning to come in. I'm noticing just over a period of 5 years where I've gone through, and now I carry a machete with me a lot when I'm in the woods now, just to get through the multiflora rose and the bittersweet and some pretty bad places coming up. I don't know how, frankly, I don't have much hope that it can be dealt with. But we'll look into it anyway.
Okay. Maddie, when we interviewed you, you were taking a test to become a forester.
Yep, so I am a certified arborist, Massachusetts certified arborist.
Did you
Sorry
know
about
that,
that.
Walter?
Oh, no, I didn't. Have you
Yep.
done much logging?
I have not done much logging.
I'm just kidding. Just joking.
Yep. But you know, I would definitely,
Well, Maddie, you and I will have a cup of coffee soon.
Okay, sounds good, Walter.
If I know, I don't know what your schedule is actually, and when you're around, when you're not, but maybe we'll get together, give me a call or something, and we'll sit down.
Okay, will do.
yeah. Oh, Miss Peg Stone has her hands up, or Ms. Stone.
So,
Hey, Peg.
hey, kids. Carolyn, just two quick questions for you.
Yes,
Town reports, is yours done?
it is. Done,
Excellent.
submitted, receipt, acknowledged with receipt.
Perfect.
Yep.
And we are going to open up the warrant at our next Board of Selectmen meeting. So if you have anything that you want to bring up, start thinking about it, and just kind of get it before us. We'll shove you on a placeholder for the warrant at our town meeting, whenever and wherever that will be.
Right. Yeah, so I definitely will put in a placeholder.
Okay.
As you probably heard me discussing. I'm not really sure what the final numbers are gonna look like. One of the things that I discussed with, well, I discussed with Tim in terms of CPA, and I had to talk to June about something else, so I stopped by and was talking to her yesterday. We may need to ask for some free cash.
Mhm.
And what I would like to do is, if we do need to ask for free cash, I would like to, if we don't think that that's going to be well received, I'd like to offer that if we do get a grant, that the free cash will get paid back
Okay.
from that reimbursement. And so what can you tell me now that you're here? What can you tell me about ARPA?
So we have quite a bit of money that we received from the state in terms of pretty much lost revenue because of COVID. And the amount is in excess of $900,000. So what we'll also be publishing, I thought Mary would have pushed it out by now, is that we're going to seek input from folks in the town through the end of the month, asking you to put in some type of your suggestions on what we could best use the money for. So let's say, I know that I'm going to be putting one in for ADA compliant things around the town. All of our buildings are not compliant, whether it's
What?
sign, I know, shocking. Signs, decals on the ground, whether it's light switches, whether it's Braille writing. So try and think of things that will impact the town as a whole, but do a little bit of forethinking as well. If you're saying, oh, we could use the money to get, and if we approve it, well, then what happens 2-3 years down the road when we don't have this any money anymore? Have you incurred an expense that the town can't pay for? So as I said, there'll be a Google Drive out there that people can just put their thoughts together in. If you have suggestions on what it would cost, put that into, and then when we finally close that at the end of the month, the selectmen and maybe others will have the dubious distinction of trying to go through. We don't have to spend the money right away. We have to spend it by the end of 2024. So it's not like, oh my God, hurry up, we need to spend it. So all these requests could come in, Carolyn, but we're gonna look at them and see. So if there's something that conservation wants to put forth, or something that any of you individually want to put forth that we could potentially use the money for to benefit the town as a whole, write up a proposal and just send it in, and we'll add you to the drive.
Okay. I mean, do you think is any money for the land purchase that we're trying to cobble the last of it together? Is that something that you think would even be considered, or we shouldn't bother?
You know, Carolyn, the worst that we can say is no. And, you know, so I would hate for you not to put it in, thinking that it would be denied. So put it in. I don't know what
Right.
others have already started to send to Mary via email. We're going to have that on a weekly basis on our selectmen meeting, just to see kind of what's out there and get an idea. But, you know, make a proposal. If you're going to, you know, you'd like X amount of dollars, well, why does it benefit, you know, the whole of the town and things like that? So that's what we're looking for, not, oh, we need to buy this bright and shiny piece of equipment because I need a bright and new shiny piece of equipment. No, think a
Yep.
little broader and think that it's town impact, not individual person or committee. And because I want to, because there's a bucket of money out
Right.
there.
Yeah, Carolyn.
Yeah.
Yeah, Peg, are you familiar, or have you heard about the so-called municipal vulnerability planning committee? Yeah,
Yep.
I was talking to someone in Littleton who was on the committee, and they got $900,000 or something to work with, and they're looking at protecting land as a way of maintaining sustainability and cleaning the air and protecting the environment. So,
Mhm.
you know, and they, I guess they're going to use some of the money for that. So anyway, I'll find out about that, Carol, and find out what the wording was on it or something. But protecting land should be right at the top of the list right now.
So Walter, the two grants that we have applied for, one of them is the MVP grant.
Okay.
Yep. And that's the one that we actually feel like we have the best shot at too.
Sure.
Exactly for that reason.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm
Good.
very excited. Louise?
Yes. You know, last week in reference to the purchase of the land and everything, we talked about putting in like an area, a trail, a walkable, accessible trail, and having seating for people and things like that. Could the
Yeah.
money be used for that type of thing?
Peg, I think that's directed at you.
I don't know. There are very defined specifics for that. And I think once the information goes up, people will be able to look at it and define. There was a presentation done by Margaret at our coffee talk that is probably somewhere out on a website that I can find and send it. But,
Right.
you know, Louise, honestly, if it's something that you think could benefit the town, then send it along, you know, to that. Again, I don't know what's coming at us, whether it's a great idea, whether it's a harebrained idea, whether it's somewhere in the middle, you know, like a town pool. Yeah, not so much. But, you know, but people have asked for a town pool or to do something to the pond behind the tennis courts. And I'm thinking, no, I've fallen in that
No.
thing too many times. Nope.
Yeah.
But the good thing is that you can't drown. Stand up.
That's all right. No matter
yeah,
how
so-
thin the ice is.
Yeah.
That is correct. That is
Yeah.
correct. So no, but definitely Carolyn, get something in once we open the warrant. Again, I don't know when the town meeting will be. It's all going to depend upon this nasty COVID crap. And if it's inside, if it's outside, if it's one day, if it's an afternoon, if it's 2 days. So I would say the sooner you probably get it in with some type of information, the better off we'll have an idea of what the articles look like.
What was the amount of money that the town got?
Close to 1 million,
What was it?
close to 1 million, like 900 and something thousand. Just put in excess of $900,000
Okay,
And the source of that, Peg, again?
from the state. It
No,
came
I
from the
mean,
state
what program? Yeah,
because of the COVID relief.
got it.
Package.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Carolyn, for being prompt and getting your reports in.
You're welcome. Louise and I tag teamed it. We came up with the system years ago, and
Yay.
John took over for a couple of years, but we got right back into it and got it done
Mhm.
in just a couple of hours, really,
Awesome.
yeah, about
of
that.
working together. You did a lot of stuff ahead of time.
About a couple of hours on my own, yeah.
But
Excellent. All right. Thank you. That's all I got. Appreciate you.
all right. All right, and our 7:30 appointment has shown up. So unless anybody has anything else right now, I think I'm gonna, oh, hold on. We do have an audience member. Hi,
Hi, everyone. How are you?
good.
Hi, Carolyn. So I'm Cassia. I have a question about 299 South Street.
299 South Street, okay.
It used to be a golf range,
Oh, yeah,
range over there.
yep,
And we're talking about 25 acres of land.
yeah,
My question is, it's some conservation land.
yep.
And I have a church buyer. They want to build a church where that golf range used to be. So I wonder if there is any way they can use some of that land.
The conservation restriction is pretty clear in that none of that, literally none of the soils or the vegetation are to be disturbed. And that's not our choice. That was the choice of the property owner who put the restriction on the property. So if they can do what they need, what they'd like to do outside of the part of the parcel that's conserved, then, within the bylaws of the town and everything, especially as far as parking, we've had several proposals. Some of them have been really hard to, the Woo Sox, their farm team wanted to put some practice baseball fields there. And that would have been fabulous for the town, but the conservation restriction is pretty clear in that no soil or vegetation is to be disturbed.
Wow.
Yeah, so, if they can do what they need to do outside of that.
Yeah, no, there is like where the driving range is, there is a small portion of the land
Yep,
that it was buildable because they built that driving range. There is like bathroom, there is a septic system, but it's not enough for the parking.
yeah, yep.
So
And that the conservation land certainly could not become parking. That would be 100% against what the document says.
Yeah, but you said that the owner put that restriction and it would be up to who?
Well, the person who put that is no longer living. And the conservation restriction is filed with the state. So it would require a 2/3 majority vote on the State House floor to overturn any of it.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Carolyn, just if I may, you know, I, as a member of the commission and the 40 years I put into protecting open spaces and everything in this town, I mean, I just strongly oppose any kind of structure being put on that land, any alteration to it. So just,
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah,
throwing that
and
in at this time, and I would hope that a majority of the commission would feel the same way.
yeah, well, this in the CR very clearly, I read it recently when the Woo Sox were they had approached Tim Wheeler on the planning board, and he and I went over the document together pretty thoroughly, and it's pretty tight. So there's not really anything that can be done on the portion of the land that has the restriction on it.
Mhm.
Um,
Okay, so
So-
what I understand, the ideal situation would be a buyer that would buy that to continue the golf course.
Or whatever happens on that property has to happen within the zoning for that area of town. And there's, you know, pretty clear definitions of what can happen for the zoning. But then on that specific piece of property, anything that's allowed within the zoning can happen on the portion of the property that is not covered by the conservation restriction. So it doesn't have to be a golf course. It can be, you know, whatever is allowed
Mhm.
on the buildable portion.
Okay, Yeah. Which is
But
not
the,
much, because I saw the map, and it's
yeah,
pretty much the whole entire golf course. It's conservation.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay,
All
right.
that open field is protected, yes.
Mhm. Yeah, no, it's just because this particular person, it's not a big church, and they're just interested in keeping, the conservation land.
Yep.
They want to keep it as it is, as much as possible. They just wanted to be able to use a couple more acres of
Right.
that land. But that was my question. I've been trying to reach you guys. I called Walter multiple times. So
Oh.
I found out about this meeting, and thank you guys for taking my question.
Yeah, I'm sorry you had such a hard time. You can always email the Conservation Commission as well.
Yeah, no, I
Um,
found out about that today, but then I found out
yeah.
about this meeting. So I
Yep.
figured I'd be here, but thank you so much. And
You're
hopefully
very
I'll
welcome,
buyer.
and good luck to your client.
All right, thank you.
All righty,
Have a good night.
good night. All right, Mr. Para. We'll promote him. There you are.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So I guess an update would be in order. I think you were copied on an email from Mr. Anderson at the Division of Conservation Services saying that he had not reviewed the restriction and didn't know when he was going to get to review.
Is this a recent?
Yes.
A recent?
Yes,
I
I believe you were copied on it.
I don't remember seeing that. Maddie, are you looking?
Yep, I'm gonna check that out.
All right. Well, so either way,
Yeah, so that's piece number one. Part number two is my understanding is that the trails were marked out and the plan was to clear them I'm not sure where the status of the clearing is given the storm, but I've been told they were staked out. And piece number 3 is I provided you with a draft of a trail easement and a draft of a declaration of restrictions that we talked about as a possible interim solution while we wait for the state to review the conservation restriction. I did also copy Sharon Everett with those documents. I understand she's out of the office, out of her office.
I think until the 10th.
Yeah, so the initial email said until the 4th, and then the second one said until the 10th. And so obviously she has not had an opportunity to review the documents. Separate and apart from this, and just to bring you up on the project generally, is the public water supply system for the project has been going through, DEP reviews and approvals. There are a couple of tests that still need to be done that, hopefully will be done tomorrow. And then there's some documentation which we've provided to DEP in regard to the water system, which they have yet to review. The projection or the belief presently is that the public water supply system should get its approvals, final approvals, in the week of February 20. And so the other piece of this is you had asked how many certificates of occupancy we would ask you for the month of February. The answer was going to be 7. The likelihood now with the public water supply is that those closings would not all happen in February. So that's where we are. I don't know if the commission has any questions or comments on what I've provided, or whether you were going to wait for town council to review. Or
Right. So a couple of things. So first, let's do the trails, because Kyle went out there today to check out what's gone on with that. So let's let Kyle report on that.
Oh, I went out today and went by Wheeler's garage and went in that way and snowshoed the loop. The markings were okay. The bridge also okay. It was hard to see how well the trails were cleared out because there's snow. So, I mean, no one can control that. But I know Marcus, Holly's husband, was out there while I was in Maine and did a walk. And he also concurred that the trails were looking good and clearly marked. Carolyn also approved some signs for the trail that were also mounted at the entrances on both east and west of the road off of the condos right there when you come in, and down at Wheeler's garage there's another sign where the trail also forks and goes around the back side of the units and around the front.
but you're happy with what you saw with the trails. Kyle.
Yeah, I was thinking.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to see better marking. The marking was like that surveyor's spray paint, so it's not really visible. It's like see-through. Maybe clearer markings. The bridge seems fine. There's a wetlands area you cross over, a small creek. It's only probably 3 feet wide. It's only ankle to shin deep, so it's nothing crazy over there. But other than that, everything looked good. I think the guys put a effort in. I know we marked at least 5 widowmakers and a couple deadheads hanging on the trail, and they chainsawed them out away from the I just told them anything that's within 4 feet of your head, we don't want anything falling on anyone.
Right.
So they did that and put it aside so it can just be naturally doing its thing.
Yep.
And all that orange paint that we marked the deadheads with were pretty much gone when I walked through. So I would say A- effort, A+ effort. I'll say A+.
That's something. Thank you.
Yep. And Holly, do you have anything to add, or did Marcus have anything to add?
I think the biggest concern, like what Kyle said, is that because when the trails were originally marked or kind of cut through or whatever, there's still a lot of snow on the ground, so it's hard to see what's underneath and what, probably still need to be raked or whatever to kind of get it better prepared. But for now, he seemed to be fairly navigable. And again, I know Marcus also mentioned with the markings, he felt that they were a little confusing and needed to be improved upon for visibility and so people don't get lost, because it's right now it's winter, so there's not a lot of undergrowth, and when that fills in, it'll be harder to see, unless the markings are more clear. But yeah, I know he was super happy with it, and with the signage too. I think there's one more sign that he's holding on to. I'm not sure where that was supposed to go, but I think we have an additional sign to put somewhere. But everything else, he thought he was happy with it, and I'm excited.
Good.
It's gonna, I think that'll make a lot of people happy.
Yeah, I will say we did spray paint a lot of 3-inch to and up laying down on the path, and all those were gone. So
oh wow, that's great. I know a lot of times it's funny that with like us horse people, we when we ride, there's stuff higher up that we kind of take care of ourselves. We don't expect.
Marcus definitely pointed that out to us, and we took that into consideration. He also didn't want the bridge, so I guess horse people don't care about creek crossings, but when you're hiking, we
you need that.
there, so
No,
that was good. Yeah, it was good for us.
Definitely. Yeah.
We took into account both height and depth.
No, that's great.
Right.
But yeah, I would say it's definitely not raked because it snowed literally
right.
the day after Marcus did a walkthrough. I talked to the foreman after I was at Wheeler's Garage. I did the loop and then went and acted like I hadn't been there yet and talked to the foreman and was hanging out with him for a bit, getting the lay of the land. And he said they were open to doing another run in the spring.
Oh, great.
I don't know if we could get that as kind of like a little added assurance type of thing for one more cleanup. But for what they had for time and weather, I think they did awesome. I think they put in an A effort for that.
No,
excellent.
Excited. Yeah, and I think those woods, I know them very well, and that over time there's a lot of other trees will fall and things, and usually Marcus and I would try to keep them clear, and everybody was fine with that because they wanted the trails to be clear. So we just, even on Duncan's land, that's what we do. So yeah, it's great.
Awesome.
Duncan has some new signs up, so you might talk with him before you go that way.
Okay.
So where are we going with this?
No, I just wanted an update about the signs. So a couple of things as far as town council and the 30-year agreement. I spoke to the town administrator. She's actually now out on medical leave, but I spoke to her before she went, and she feels very strongly that we should not spend another cent on a lawyer about this project, especially just to fill what is potentially only a couple of month gap. So, and I agree with her. You know, no one could have predicted what was going to happen with COVID and the office of DCR and the person not working there anymore. But the fact that it took so long to get to the point where it actually landed on his desk is a little frustrating for me. And I definitely agree that we should not be sending any more money on lawyers right now about this. So that's how I feel about the 30-year agreement. I don't think that there's one person here who doesn't think that DCR is going to approve the CR. You know, it will get approved. So then the question really comes down to and I mean, so the news about the water supply, in my mind, buys us another month. You guys can't sell any houses right now anyway, until the public water supply is online. So maybe by the end of the month, DCR will have a timeline for us. But I think we take this month by month for now. That's my personal feeling. I would love to hear how the rest of how other people on the commission feel about it.
Well, I have how many units are there, Alex, altogether? I forget.
66.
56.
No, 66.
66. You know, I never wanted a project there in the first place, and it's a shame that we didn't buy it. And I had a little falling out with my good friend that owned it, as a matter of fact. That is stupendous area up in there, and that's terrible that went in. And however, it's in there. And if there's 66 units, I mean, I think I'd be willing to consider the idea, rather than relying on this 30-year thing. I don't want anything to do with that. I totally support your position on that, but I wouldn't be strongly opposed to if there's 66 there and they want to get some upfront cash coming in, cash flows, if that's what's about, Alex. I could see a few test out a few, let them move a few units, but we'll still have over 50 units in our pocket that we can just stop anytime we want if things aren't moving. So I don't know. That's just something to think about. And I don't see where they on the rest of it, you know, according to Pat's reports, they've been doing good with the environmental protection and things. And it is too bad that this dragged on and on. But so what, Alex, I'm interested in, what do you like to get some upfront cash to work with, or what does the company want?
Well, what the company wants is to be able to fulfill its contractual obligations to buyers. You know, there are people who have entered into agreements to purchase the property and obviously would hope to move in.
So these
Yeah.
agreements, you already have agreements of some sort?
Yes, look, this is not, I'm not in any way, shape or form saying this is ideal. I think in fairness to us, and I understand your frustration, but we were ready to submit this thing in July. There was a lengthy period of time while town council, you know, reviewed. And, you know, the prediction that it would take, you know, 8 months just to be told they haven't even looked at it yet is a little disappointing, both to us and to you. I provided the draft trail easement and declaration of restrictions, not because, you know, I was trying to force anything on you. We discussed it and you did ask, you know, if I could draft them up, so I did. I'm just trying to provide you guys with a comfort level that you would release, you know, occupancy certificates, and I'm trying to do what I can to give you that comfort level. I suppose, I mean, so I've heard a couple of different things. One is you're just not really interested in the 30-year restrictions, or all the other is you don't want to spend fees with town council. And I, you know, I get both of those things. I can ask my client if he'll pay for the town council review if you're, you know, interested in, you know, in doing that as a stopgap measure. So, you know, there's that. I think there's the SVT money that we can, if you remember, there was a, I believe it was a $15,000 monitoring fee. You know, we can pay that to the town so that you know, have a comfort level as to that. And other than that, all I can tell you is, you know, if you held back one unit, that would be, you know, financially a substantial incentive to get this conservation restriction done. You know, holding back 66 units is unnecessary, and I think unfair. I told you that we had agreements on 7 units for February. I don't want to keep doing this, you know, going around and around with you guys, but you know, if you want to do it on a month-to-month basis, we can do that. But honestly, there's nothing for me to do until Mr. Anderson has had an opportunity to review and comment on the CR. If you guys have any other suggestions as to what would give you, you know, reasonable comfort level, I'm all ears.
Do you have any, so you have 7 PNSs signed with dates?
We had 7 PNSs with closings in February. I would suspect there are probably more in March. Nobody's given me those numbers yet. But obviously, if we don't get the water, I mean, what's going to happen is this, in terms of public water supply, is there's a one water test that needs to be done for PFAS. And that test is supposed to happen tomorrow. Those results typically take 2 weeks to turn around. So, you know, obviously if it doesn't come back clear, that's a whole different issue, but you know, we're presuming it's going to come back clear, and then DEP, you know, will have that result, and within a week they should issue their final approval. They have everything else done, and then we would then take that to the Board of Health, because it's a Board of Health requirement, you know, so that they have the evidence that public water supply is done. So you know, I'm looking on the public water supply as the earliest is February 25th, which is a Friday, and more likely, you know, into the following week. So it would be really good to at least know what we're doing with you guys, so that anything that we need to do, we can, you know, get it done. So are you meeting again in 2 weeks, or?
We are meeting again in 2 weeks. We are not having, well, we haven't voted on this yet, but I am going to propose that we don't have the first meeting in March because I will be on vacation. And I am not zooming in from Costa Rica. So unless somebody else wants to run the meeting that month, that night, we will not have that meeting.
I'm not clear on what you're saying. You're not having the meeting in March, or?
The first meeting in March, I think it's March 2nd. So we will have one more meeting in 2 weeks. So I guess as far as tonight goes, we can either, if other commission members want to,
Maybe with the, I don't want to interrupt, but I just hit the button, so.
yeah.
Would it make sense for us to work with Mr. Para too? And I think he wants 7. I mean, if we give him, say, give him 8, give him an extra, and then we still have all the other ones to hold for, like Holly had mentioned, the markings. And so when we have our meeting in a couple weeks, we then can review again the markings. And then I will just say for the record that they did do what they said they would do pretty quickly after our last meeting with Alex. So I think relinquishing 8 occupancy permits might be a thing. I'm not sure if we vote or what. I'm just spitballing.
Does anybody have any feelings about releasing 8 for now?
Well, it's kind of going along with what I would expressed earlier.
Right.
As long as we, I mean, we still got a lot to hang on to, as long as they show good faith effort and we can get the state to move on that thing, then we'll be all right. But I don't, I tend to, you know, agree with Kyle on this, and I'd give him something and just move along, see what happens in a couple of weeks, and then it'll be a 4-week hiatus before we get together again. But I really am absolutely against this 30-year thing, just like you are. So, but we could, I think we still control enough, have enough control over that by issuing only 8 occupancy permits for now, and see what happens in the next month. That would be my feeling on it. I don't know.
Anybody else?
Well, I guess I'm not against that either. My concern is, though, again, once people get in there and if the CR isn't filed or we don't have that, and then they form some kind of condo commission and then they decide they want to fight that or something, I'm just worried. But I don't oppose giving so many out, because that would be less than the majority, or however the condo association, or how they're going to work that out. My biggest concern is that once people get in there, they might not want this trail in their backyard or something like that. I just don't
Right,
know.
right.
That's
I
all
mean,
I'm
the,
sure.
well, the trail is already there
Yeah.
and the CR is already filed with the state.
Okay.
And I think what I hear you saying is proceed with caution.
Hmm.
Yes.
Louise?
Yeah, I have some serious concerns. Okay, like we mentioned at the last meeting that we lost some conservation restrictions in the past because we assumed that people would keep their word. There were two. They said, oh yes, they would put the land in conservation. They bought the land, they built on the land. And then when it was time to enforce, the one person sold the land that he was going to put in conservation. Another person just said, well, no, I've changed my mind. I don't want to do it. We had a third situation where the conservation restriction did not get recorded on the deed, and the owner came in and wanted something done. And we said, well, no, there's a restriction on it. She says, well, it's not on my deed, so there's no restriction. And we had another one, I think I mentioned it last week, where they were going to put a certain piece of property in conservation. They didn't do it right away. And it took us 2 or 3 years of keep continuing to bring it up to finally get them to pass it. And, you know, I have some concerns too, because I went over the minutes from the last meetings, and we first started out with an agreement with the previous owner. And there were a lot of changes made to that we agreed to. And then when the conservation restriction wasn't moving forward, we said, okay, you could not get any building permits. We gave in and we allowed you to get the building permits. And now you're asking us to forget about the conservation being restriction being in place and give you 7 or 8 occupancy permits. I mean, I just feel like, well, you're going to come back and say, well, you know, this is a problem. Can we have 8 more occupancy permits?
I think long as we don't give them the over 50% of the occupancy, we would still hold
Right.
the keys, I would say, essentially.
Right.
But I do see the concerns, especially with the condo association. That was a good catch.
Mhm.
But I don't
Right.
think if we release 8 units, they would have the funding in their condo association to challenge us, or the state for that matter, with DCR. But I've never thought of that angle. So that was a good.
If I'm.
What, just Robin or AJ?
Yeah.
No, I agree with Louise. My concern would be that, you know, we give them 8 and then they come back for, you know, asking for more and then more and more and, you know, just keep pushing.
Oh, well,
So,
we know they're going to. We
Yes,
know
but
that's
we-
how it's gonna go
Yeah,
until.
but we need to
Um,
decide like at what, like, is it going to be 50% or less than 50%? What's it going to be? I think we need to know what
think
that number is before
with-
we start letting them go.
Kyle, hold on one second. AJ?
Yeah, I look back at that amazing document that Louise shared with us, and there's a little bit of a pattern, and I think it's time to maybe put a stop to that and hold our ground on this. In other words, I'm not in favor of doing
Issuing
that.
any.
But isn't there a way they could push to get that person to review it and get it submitted in for the CR at the state level? Like, I know.
No, I mean, Alex definitely has, I've seen, been copied on, or the commission has been copied on emails where he has asked, Walter actually got in touch with Senator Cronin's, he's a senator, right?
Mhm.
Yes.
Senator Cronin's office asking for them to, you know, see what they could do. I was copied on an email that Senator Cronin's office sent to DCR asking for, if not an expedited review, at least a date. And I did not see a response to that. So, you know, I think we're all doing what we can to at least get some information from the state. But my guess is none of these people are actually working in the office. They're all working from home. And the office at least seems to be a little bit of a mess right now, as are a lot of places. So, so one thing, Alex, that you brought up that I would love to see happen is I'm going to send a note to Sudbury Valley trustees and ask them to invoice you guys for the monitoring. And I would love to have that paid so that that's one more thing that we don't have to worry about chasing anybody about.
Okay. So I just wanted, if I might, just address the concern about the condominium association. The association stays under the control of the company until at least 50% of the units have been sold. But the documents themselves and the master deed that will get recorded, and I'll get you a copy of that, provides that the developer reserves the right to record conservation restriction and trail easements, you know, in favor of the town. So the condominium association, even after, you know, control is transferred to the residents, is bound by the requirement of the recording of the conservation restriction. I'll get you those documents. Again, I think the retention of 33 units of occupancy certificates, the 50%, is enormous. I mean, you know, the project would not be viable, right? So I don't, you know, I just think the commission has a tremendous amount of security here, both documentary and financial. And everything has been done except for, you know, DCR to make its comments. And, you know, it's not our DCR comments typically are not the developer's hunt. Whatever they want, we're happy to give it to them and to you. So it's those comments that typically are things that are much more interest to the town than to the developer. You know, and here we've got the public access and the trails, and, you know, it's coming together. There's just this hitch at the state. And like you said, it's gonna get approved. If you want us to sign it, you know, as is, and give you, you know, notarize and give it to the town to hold with the power of attorney to make any changes that the state wants, we can do that too. we're not trying to avoid this in any way, shape, or form. So, if you have any other suggestions, I'm happy to do them, but that's the best I can do, I think.
Kyle,
Is that what I'm supposed to do when I want to talk? I want to make sure I'm doing it right.
yep,
All right, perfect. So circling back, what if we did, because I know, like everyone said, they're going to come back and ask for more as it goes. What if we voted for whatever, 8, like I said earlier, we can pick a number, I don't care. And then, as Carolyn said, the SVT funding, we see that check get paid in between now and the next meeting. Now we're still working together as a team. I think as long as we hold, like he said, the developer's not going to make any money if we keep 50% of the occupancy permits. It's not a viable project at that point. So if we keep 70%, even better, you know what I mean? Keep the ball definitely in our favor so that they don't get the upper hand on that. And then everything should come into play with the DCR, and then we can move forward as planned. But I think, especially in these times of COVID and everything, giving them 8 so they can get some more money in the bank and keep the ball rolling isn't a unfair ask, with the quick response of the trail repair and marking with Marcus and Holly.
Walter. Walter, did you want to say something?
Actually, not right now. Well, I mean,
You
again,
don't have to.
well, it's boy, it's a tough one. I mean, I listened to our other colleagues there, and again, the company that's doing this isn't hurting in any way, shape, or manner. And I looked at what Louise had put together. What a tremendous amount of work. I mean, when you look at the stops and starts all the way through this thing, when this could have and should have been done, but apparently the company didn't feel that the conservation of land was that important, or what we wanted was that important. I don't know, but nevertheless, the other thing is we don't have an attorney listening to us here on our side. Would we be setting a precedent that we then couldn't control? I don't know how, taking to court and forced to issue the occupancy permits. I don't know enough about that, so I'm a little cautious, more cautious than I was. Thank you.
Anybody else? Alex, I think you were going to say something.
Oh, I just wanted clarification on the markings for the trail. What was missing or expected, so I could convey that to the client.
I think they used construction spray paint, so it's transparent, fluorescent spray paint. I don't know the exact paint. Maybe Walter or AJ know the best paint for that type of marking.
Or usually it's like the plastic triangles, and then like if there's a turn on the trail, then there would be 2 to show the person that there's a change, that they need to make a turn.
Right.
Those
I'd personally,
We're talking about the blazes, right?
right. I'd rather
Oh,
see
sorry.
painted blazes than plastic,
Oh, okay. Never mind.
personally.
Yeah, fine. Yeah.
AJ, isn't it usually, or Walter, isn't it just usually like a white paintbrush stripe?
Yeah, depending on what color it is. I mean, John used different colors for different trails to go along with our trail maps. So a color would have to be decided, and white would certainly work, but whatever color you wanted up there.
I think Marcus had voted on yellow, but
Okay.
open to interpretations.
I like yellow. Yellow's good. It's visible. pop.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, that's the point is for it to be visible in low light, you know, for it to be more visible. So, you know, someone with a 2-inch paintbrush making a stripe with the yellow is fine. You know, one stripe, 3 inches long, you know, it doesn't have to be giant, but it should be visible.
Okay.
I did some trail maintenance and trail marking years ago when I was working with the Master Naturalist program in Minnesota. And we literally had on the end of a sort of a stick, a little stencil, the shape, and then it was just a matter of laying that against the tree and hitting it with a brush of paint. It worked real well with 2 people. Yeah, but they were uniform and sort of neat and clean.
For consistency, you can, I just drive up Lyman Road at the parking lot and see what was done there, and should be the same throughout town, I think. Depending on whatever color you want, just have them look the same.
Yeah, so I think the color should be yellow. And it should be paint. AJ, is there a specific kind of paint that you're aware of?
I don't recall that, that's for sure.
Right.
Anything, any house paint would work. It no special paint.
An exterior paint, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we can do one of 2 things. We can make a decision tonight, or we can vote tonight, or we can have Mr. Para come back in 2 weeks.
I make a motion that, if I may,
You may.
that Mr. Para comes back in 2 weeks.
A second.
All right. I guess we'll vote since it's an official motion and a second. Louise,
Aye.
Kyle. Kyle,
Aye.
there you go. Robin,
Aye.
Holly,
Aye.
AJ,
Aye.
Walter,
Aye.
Carolyn, aye. So, you know, there's a chance we'll have more information in 2 weeks and can make a better informed decision. In the meantime, I will ask Sudbury Valley trustees to send an invoice. Should they send it to Mr. Vinicasa, or should they send it to you, or?
They should send it to me.
Okay.
And you can draw any inferences you like from that statement.
Okay.
If they email it to me, so much the best.
Okay, perfect.
And so we got the blazes, the SVT invoices. I'll provide you with condo documents. Is that it for the next meeting?
I think certainly the condo documents. I think that is it for now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Madam Chairman, just, Mr. Perry, I called the senator's office, and the people that own whoever it is that's building all this and all the people involved, they have senators and representatives. They don't have to be from this district. You mentioned his name. Forgot what it was, but if he might live in towards Boston, where he's got some powerful senators and powerful reps, and make a call and have them contact DCR and see if they could push it along. Tell them you got a real tough conservation commission that just is unreasonable, and oh dear, so you need to get this done.
You're giving me permission to defame you.
It happens with or without permission in
Right.
lots of circles. So, you know, whatever.
You know, I've been on a conservation commission long enough that I don't like to do that.
There's one
It comes
guy
around,
that
comes
needs
around.
to move on it, and he's the one that's the pressure's got to be directed at. I think I'll even contact our state rep now.
All right, well, I appreciate your help very much, and
Yeah, I mean, I hope, I don't know. I don't even know if I need to say this, but we're not trying to be unreasonable. We're trying to protect the town.
so I
Mhm.
understand, I
And
understand that.
our-
Again,
Yep. Louise?
Yes, I was wondering, can we contact the conservation and recreation ourselves? Not
As an individual?
as a commission?
Contact
Or
who,
as an-
please? The state people? Who are you
Right.
talking about? Yeah, of
That's-
course we can. Of course.
Right, well, Walter, you kind of did that on our behalf.
Yeah, I went to the senator. I'll write something directly to DCR.
DCR, right?
Yeah,
I'll run it by you, Carolyn, before I mail it.
thank you.
all right, I'll make sure, and if you haven't found it, that to forward to you Mr. Anderson's email.
That would be good.
So you would have that as a reference point to contact DCR.
Okay. And so we can have you at 7:30 on the 16th.
Okay, I want you to know that I will be on the 16th, zooming in from out of the country.
Well, you get paid a lot more to do that than I do.
As long as it's not out of the world.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for your time tonight. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
night.
you.
Excellent. All right. Maddie, do you want to contact SVT about sending an invoice?
Yep, I can do that. Do you know who the contact should be? For that?
Trying to think, was it Krista that we were working with on that?
No, no.
Contact Krista first.
Oh.
Actually look through the old emails
Yeah, okay.
and see who we were talking with, because
Okay.
John was doing that at that point.
Yeah,
And if you can't find exactly who it is, just poke Krista and say, hey, who should I do this with?
yeah,
And send Alex's email.
Mhm.
All right. Well, good job, guys. I think that went, I think we covered a lot of different interests one way or another, and I'm happy with how that went.
Yeah, I think so.
Yep.
Mhm.
So, and unless anybody has anything else, I think we can be done.
Well, just very
Oh.
quickly, the MVP thing, was I asleep when that was mentioned? What are the two grants that we're seeking? I didn't realize, when I brought that up, I hadn't realized that was one of them. So in other words, you're way ahead of me, but I didn't realize it. So that's being sought by the selectmen.
No, that's being sought by us.
Okay, okay.
We Maddie put in the application,
Oh,
or put
great.
together the application and put it in
Excellent.
early January.
Oh,
Yeah.
great. You probably
Yeah.
told us all about it. Sorry, I didn't remember. And the second grant is the community.
Is is the land grant,
Yeah,
the one that
okay.
we got for
Yeah.
Oberg and didn't get
Okay.
for Wendler and, yeah.
Yeah. The other thing, on this, Lyman School, the name will stick. I mean, we have lots of chunks of land. We have different parcels that are part of it, but, the other thing I'll tell you, I go back 40 years on this, so I feel pretty strongly about it. After Mr. McGrail died, his nephew, attorney from Clinton, came into my office. I was Commissioner of Fish and Wildlife, and I wanted to buy that. I contacted him. He came in. We talked about it, a price of $1 million. And Fish and Wildlife would have bought that thing lock, stock, and barrel right off the bat. The building would have remained on it. That beautiful historic farm would have still been there. And anyway, he left. He shook my hand, left. I didn't hear from him, so I called him. I called him 3 or 4 times and left messages. He never got back to me. And the next thing I heard about it, he had sold it to a speculator from out of town. And now it's 3.3. Even though it's a good deal, it's still 3.3. The beautiful historic farm is destroyed.
Yeah,
And it's all the people that you want to name it for. And I'm strongly opposed to that. And if you went back and talked to Emerson Chandler and Jock Ewing and those of us who have been close to that through the years, they would be turning over in their grave if they thought that that's the way it was named. So Lyman School is my suggestion.
Okay. And it's
you
not
can-
3.3, it's 1.25.
Well, what did I say, 3.3?
Yeah,
Oh,
Um,
no,
yeah,
absolutely. I know that.
that's way
Yeah.
more money than,
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what it is. Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Louise,
Yes, I wanted to bring up Earth Day. I know it's a little early, but we need to think about it. If
it's
we
funny,
wanted,
I almost put that on the agenda for next week, the next
Okay.
meeting, so I will.
okay.
But you can talk about it now too. We don't, That's fine.
Well, do we want to do it? You know?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I talked to Lawrence Holyoke and I think she's willing to head it up like she has in the past. I'll help with whatever I can, you know? So, okay. I'll contact her and tell her that, yes, we want to do it and we can go from there.
yeah, it's always been a very successful thing and, you know, between you and her, you guys kind of have this thing.
Pretty much, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
pretty much pull it together with your eyes closed.
yeah.
Kyle, you get to pick up trash this year. Yay!
I'm very happy to throw my hat in the ring on that too. We weren't even here 1 month when we moved in here, and Ann and I did a day of trash pickup that April, and I've gone out every April since, and I would really like to be in the kind of in the planning and execution part of it too. So if you need an extra pair of hands, let me know.
Got that, Louise?
Yes,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, all right. I'll put your name down. I just want to say that last year, you know, we made an agreement with Highland Liquors to pay us $1 for every liquor bottle, nip bottle that we collected. And they put a cap at 500. Well, we went way over. I think we collected at least 1,000 nip bottles. You know,
Yeah,
not
and
just
there
that
were
day, but
bags and bags and bags of them.
what?
There were many bags of them.
What
Oh,
was the most-
absolutely.
I filled 2 bags myself.
What
Mhm.
was the most popular?
Oh, Fireball.
Seagrams?
No, Fireball. Fireball's
Fireball.
always the most
Yes,
popular.
that's the
Yeah.
one, right.
I'm gonna try
That's the
that.
most disappointing part was they were all empty.
Yeah.
So Louise, are you
Okay.
guys gonna try and see if they want to do that again? Louise,
Oh, yeah, we thought about it.
yeah, it's certainly worth asking them about.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I'll move to adjourn if we're all done.
I'll second.
Oh,
Who was that?
Robin beat you that
Robin
time.
did it.
Okay, so Robin second.
Yep. Oh. Sorry. My brain just stopped. Take a vote. Robin,
Aye.
AJ,
Aye.
Walter,
Aye.
Holly,
Aye.
Kyle,
Aye.
Louise,
Aye.
Carolyn, aye. All right, guys.
Have a good night, everyone. Oh, actually,
Okay,
we'll see before then.
8:31.
I
Another
was gonna
great,
say have a great trip, Carolyn, but I just remembered we have a meeting between.
Yeah, we have one more meeting.
All right, have a good night, everyone.
yeah.